Hello, this is my introductory speech, and it's going to be on witchcraft, medieval to modern. So, perceptions on witches and witchcraft itself has varied over time. At one point, being a witch was a crime punishable by death, whereas now it has become almost popular amongst younger people and is almost like a trend. A lot more people participate in it. These people can be drawn to like crystals or even tarot, which is kind of like a subgenre of witchcraft. And then there's also perceptions in modern TV, such as, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, American Horror Story, and things of that nature. So in medieval times, the Salem witch trials were a thing. It started in Europe during, the 1580s. There was a lot of paranoia. They didn't actually know who was and was not a witch. It was actually spurned on by a book loosely translated as The Hammer of Witches by some authors, and people read it and they were like, oh, people might be witches, this is dangerous to us. Scotland was actually the biggest persecutor during this time, and almost 3,800 witches, or people that they presumed to be witches, were executed. The Daily Record states, while many people may have been accused of witchcraft before 1590, the first major trials of those suspected of being a witch began in Scotland after King James began to believe he and his future bride had been cursed by a coven of witches. He actually believed this because a ship that they happened to be sailing on almost sank due to storms and choppy water, which is normal depending on where you are and where you're sailing, but he believed that it was a curse brought upon them. It was also exacerbated in America, where the notorious Salem witch trials occurred. And in regards to the Salem witch trials, Britannica states, the process of identifying witches began with suspicions or even rumors. Accusations followed, often escalating to convictions and executions. The Salem witch trials and executions came about as the result of a combination of church politics, family feuds, and hysterical children, all of which unfolded in a vacuum of political authority. People started flinging accusations around, accusing others of witchcraft due to mass hysteria caused by fits amongst people. Those fits in modern times could be explained by any sort of medical ailment such as asthma, epilepsy, psychosis, or even the most popular diagnosis was a possible fungus contaminating their food supply at the time, as they weren't storing things correctly, and there was the potential of that happening. And then when it came to those trials, those who did not confess to witchcraft or even call out other presumed witches were the ones that were hanged. And now we come into the modern times. Witchcraft is brought out more in regards to tarot, doing tarot readings with cards, crystals, and astrology is another big one, like people focusing on moon phases and stuff like that. The Atlantic states, the more frustrated people get, they do often turn to witchcraft because, verbatim, they're like, well, the usual channels are just not working, so let's see what else is out there. Nowadays, witchcraft is actually seen as a symbol of feminism, as mostly women seem to participate in it. It's a symbol of independence, and it's a symbol of female power against backlash. And then there's the reputation in media, where we have the typical Wicked Witch of the East from The Wizard of Oz, where witches are seen as evil and even threatening, dangerous. And then you have other aspects where you see Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which was more relaxed and stuff like that. And then we have the revamp of Sabrina, which almost depicted witches as like edgy teenagers, rebellious, satanic in some aspects. And then we have the notorious American Horror Story, where they had one specifically about witches, kind of portrayed them more as like vengeful, very powerful, and then they touched on the basis of voodoo and even hoodoo, which is a little taboo in today's society, but they did give some information about that. But overall, witchcraft is something that shouldn't be seen as scary or threatening. There are many different aspects of it that can be beneficial to some, can be seen as like an outlet of relaxation and stuff like that.